Hey there, welcome to LSAT Demon Daily. I'm Eric Johansson, a teacher with LSAT Demon. With me is Nathan Fox, founder of LSATdemon.com and the weekly podcast Thinking LSAT. Today, an email from Evan.
Evan says, the subject is, should I move my test date up? Evan says, hello, I started my LSAT prep with the Demon over winter break. I have made progress faster than expected. I was planning on a slow build-up for the August LSAT. However, my quick progress has me debating whether or not to hunker down and shoot for April. For background, I took a cold diagnostic of 158, back in December and began studying for 30 to 60 minutes a day over the course of the next month. Fast forward to this past weekend, and I PT'd a 168 on my second ever PT. So 10-point improvement in 1 month of about an hour a day. Maybe that's above average progress, but it's not surprising progress.
If you're starting with a 158, you clearly know what you're doing on this test.
Well, you have enough command of the English language and enough patience to slow down and actually solve questions.
Yeah.
That's what a 158 means.
Yeah.
And if you have that command of the English language and that amount of attention to detail and patience, then yeah, the sky's the limit. I would have said, I expect you to be in the 170s eventually. And the fact that you made it to the high 160s within a month is like, yeah, that's just not that surprising.
Mm-hmm.
Evan continues, since then, I've taken 4 time sections split evenly between LR and RC, and I haven't missed more than 2 questions on any of them. So it sounds like Evan is actually probably in the 170s right now.
Mm-hmm.
For a month of frankly half-assed studying, I am pretty surprised by my progress. Although it's a limited sample size, is this progress enough to justify targeting the April LSAT if I want to get 175 or higher? If so, how significantly should I increase my studying, if at all, to making it happen? Thanks for taking some time to answer my question. Keep up the good work. The Demon podcasts are the best resource I have found for all things LSAT and law school. Thanks, Evan.
Evan, I think that you very well could be ready for the April LSAT. You don't have to make that decision until February 27th, which is the LSAT registration deadline. And I think that's basically the takeaway here is you can decide then. You don't have to plan on a particular LSAT date. Just keep going until you're happy with your practice test scores. And once you are, and it just register for the next one. And I think that very well could be April for you, but don't worry about it right now.
If you go to lsat.link/dates, you'll find a page on LSAT Demon that lists the full cycle, 2024-2025 cycle. Of course, more than half of these are already done. But again, the registration deadline for the April test is not until February 27th. So I would encourage you, Evan, to probably just keep doing what you've been doing. An hour a day is plenty, I think, for people to make forward progress. Keep track of your practice test scores. The second you get practice test scores in the mid 170s, which is your goal, go ahead and register for April. Plan on also taking June and then whatever tests are offered over the summer. Once you start taking it, Evan, I don't want you to give up. I don't want you to wait for the results of April before you decide whether you're going to take it in June. None of that kind of bullshit. If you're ready to take the first one, then you should be ready also to take the second one. Otherwise, you weren't actually ready to take the first one. So we want to make sure you don't put too much pressure on that April test. So sign up. If you're going to sign up for April, you don't necessarily have to sign up for June, but you should have June on your calendar. And you should have the registration deadline for June also on your calendar. That's, by the way, April 22nd. So if you get the practice tests up and you want to take April, that's great. Plan on taking April, June, and then however many more you need to get that 175 or higher.
The June LSAT registration is unfortunately a week before April LSAT score release. That happens. In the past, LSAC has done stuff where sometimes they will reimburse you if you get your score back and you realize that you don't need to or want to take the later test. We'll see if that's what they choose to do this year. But plan on multiple test attempts.
Yeah, and that's nice when they do that. But even if they don't do that, I would be clear that go ahead and sign up. I
Yeah.
mean, whether they're going to give you a discount or not give you a discount, if you're taking the April test, you really should plan on taking it in June. And if that means you have to sign up because the scores aren't going to be out anyway, so be it. Because you really need to not put so much pressure on any one attempt. You got to
Yeah.
be playing the long game. Law schools are only going to care about your highest score, Evan, and you don't have to make it so that every score, like it's not like I have to be consistently above my target before I sit for the real test. You just have to be sometimes, like half the time, above your target to sit for the real test, because then you can just take it multiple times and presumably it's going to come up heads, it's going to come up tails, but it's going to be a mix of those and only the good ones are going to count. So, no reason not to be a little bit more aggressive of when you take your first exam, as long as you're willing to keep retaking it. Anything more for Evan?
No, keep up the great work.
Don't be lazy, dude. You have a lot of potential, and I just hear a little too much of me in Evan's email, which is not good. I was not cut out to practice law. Okay. So Evan's proud of himself for making 10 points progress after a month of frankly half-assed studying. I'm not that surprised, Evan, that you were able to do that. But law school is going to require a lot of serious attention and hard work. And legal practice is going to take a lot of hard work and serious attention. And you have the horsepower. There's no doubt that you have the horsepower. But horsepower is a bad, bad reason to go to law school.
Hmm.
It's not, I don't care. If Evan was like, my diagnostic was 175 and now I score 180 every single time, I would be like, okay, that's great. But and you certainly could go to the best law schools in the country. You could get a full ride. Great. But I'm not excited about your law aspirations until I find out, like, what is it that you're going to do with this? And do you have the work ethic to actually be a lawyer? Because just being smart is not enough, not even close to enough.
Hmm. Just because you can score 175 doesn't mean you should go to law school.
No, I scored a 179 and I had no business being in law school. I didn't know what lawyers do. To the extent that I did know what lawyers do, I didn't want to do that.
Mm.
I then got to law school and I was bored and miserable and I just hated it. I was literally in like mental health services because of how much I hated it,
I think we've talked about this, but why did you go to law school?
because I had a high LSAT.
Uh,
I it was just like, to a man with a hammer, all the world is a nail. And so for me it was really that simple, that I and why did I have a high LSAT? Well, because I was a test prep teacher. I taught GMAT, and then my employer at the time needed an LSAT teacher. They were like, "You're smart. Why don't you take the LSAT?" Okay, I didn't even really know what the LSAT was. I did a tiny amount of prep, really a lot like Evan, and started scoring in the 170s. Sat for the official test. I was actually shocked when I saw 179 on my official score.
mm.
I hadn't I was shooting for a 173 because that's what I needed to teach LSAT for my former employer.
Just squeak in.
Yeah, and then I get back the 179. Whoa. And then I took that to mean, "Oh, dude, you have a lot of aptitude for law school. You don't know what else you're doing with your life. You like the test prep teaching thing, but that's not a career." I hated my day job at the time. So I stupidly applied to like 3 law schools and went to the highest ranked one that I got into, which is so common. I ended up borrowing way too much money and getting almost nothing out of it. I mean, what good was law school to me? Very, very little practical value.
Didn't you literally toss your diploma in the trash at one
I
point?
did. At one point I was cleaning out an apartment and I had 4 pleather padfolios. I had my undergraduate degree from UC Davis, and then I had a master's in journalism and a master's in business and a JD. And they were all just stacked there in their pleather glory. And I was like, fuck this. They're gathering dust. I am never putting these things on the wall.
Hmm.
What good do they do me? Nothing. And I took them and I put them down the trash chute in my apartment building that I lived in. Don't regret it. what would I do with those things? I mean, I
Put
could
them
have
on the
them for like
wall.
comedy purposes, but other than that, no. And I would have had to move them 10 times since then. And I'm super glad that I didn't do that. So, uh, yeah.
Somewhere I've still got my paper printed certificate of ordaining me as a minister of the Universal Life Church. That's
Because you
probably
married some friends. Did
yeah.
it
I
stick?
yes. So far, yep.
Oh, good.
No, they're doing well.
Nice. Is that, are you only you did one?
Just the one.
So you're one
I
for
have a
one?
100% success rate.
Nice. Eric has never, Eric has successfully married people and he has never unsuccessfully married people. He still has a certificate. So if you want to guarantee that you have a happy marriage, you should try to get Eric to officiate your wedding.
Makes sense to me. I would only do it. It was pretty stressful, to be honest. The weight of the responsibility of being a not so much the logistics of it, but just actually putting on a good speech for these people at their
Yeah,
wedding.
yeah.
But it was good.
Yeah, you did. You like fuck it up, and the bride is in tears, and just totally embarrassing. All right.
No, it
Anything
went
more
well.
for Evan before we wrap it up?
No, you got this, Evan. Don't half-ass it. Put your full ass into it.
Yeah. It's just not like a point of pride. I mean, lawyers love working long hours. They love working their ass off. They love getting it right.
Hmm.
So, you've got all the promise, Evan. I really do expect something 175 or higher out of you. And I would just, why don't you just get there sooner rather than later? And then think about whether you actually want to go to law school or not. I have no doubt you can get the high LSAT, but that does not mean you should actually go. Email daily at lsatdemon.com if you would like to ask us a question or share some LSAT or law school admissions news. Thanks for listening.